Hey guys, James here, and welcome to the next installment on my channel, Forex Journey with James. In this week's episode, we're going to go a little bit more into the strategy insight. So I'm going to give you a bit of a recap of a trade I'd taken earlier in the week. We finished the week for minus 2.2, but again, absolutely fine. One of the trades I did rush into, and the other perfectly valid loss. And I also took a break-even trade earlier in the week. So 3 trades for the week, and yeah, we'll see what next week brings. But without further ado, I'm just going to get straight into the recap for you all. Please make sure you do like, subscribe, and follow along to get updates on the journey. I'm going to go over a trade that I have just taken. I'm going to take you through my process of what I was looking at and how the trade has gone. So we're Tuesday the 9th of April, 20 past 11 where I am, and I just wanted to take you over a trade that I've gone through. So what I was looking at in the morning, just marking up my charts and talking you through the trade itself. So what we can see in terms of the direction, we can see here that we've had a change of character here. This is on the 4-hour time frame. So we can see that price had been creating lower lows. Here we can see that price has pushed down and we'd push back up with momentum here, closing with a body, and price had just continued to trade higher and higher until we had the start of this pullback here. So we can see in terms of the way that I was thinking, the way that I was marking up my charts, is the process here is we're looking at essentially in terms of direction, price has pushed down, we've pushed higher, giving us the changing character. So we're expecting some sort of a pullback and for price to continue higher and continue to push in this manner. What we could also see in this is that price has pushed higher. We could have this push down, push higher to come deeper, and then continue higher. So these are all options available to us. So when I approach charts in the morning, essentially what I'm looking at is areas that we'd be trading from and where we may be trading to. So what can we see around the charts? We're expecting that price could go up, but it could also come deeper into these levels. So what we first need to look at is areas where we can kind of see and understand what's happened. So price has traded above this area here, essentially taking out all of any resting liquidity above here and above these highs as well, and it's had a strong reaction from this, strong push down. But we can see in here also that where price has been pushing down here, price has given us a strong push up before we've then had a sell-off. So we can see that essentially liquidity had been taken in this area here. We had a push down, a push back up, and a solid push down here. So this upwards candle here is a very strong point of interest that I'm interested to see how price reacts when we get to here, but would also be a target area that we'd be looking at for any potential longs that we're in to see how we then react to that. The expectation is that price will likely at some point trade up to here, and it's what happens in here, whether we get a reversal signal or whether price decides that it wants to continue on and trade through, at which point we'll then look at higher prices and next potential areas. But this is a key area of interest that I'm expecting price to come to. Now looking at what's below us, so below this break here, what can we see? We can see that price had a little bit of a stall. We then pushed up with momentum, so we can see, so internally these are equal highs, and prices pushed down, wicking below, and then pushed with momentum. We can see that denoted here as there are gaps between this candle's high and this candle's low, this candle's high and this candle's low. It's indicating that we've had a strong push up on this time frame. So again, this candle here is going to be an area of interest to me. And as well, what did we have here? So we had a strong push down. We can see that prices approach this area here. We've pulled down on this 4 hour, and then we've pushed lower, wicking to the downside. We then had a bit of consolidation in this area. Again, we've tried to push down, rejected, tried to push down again, pushed higher, and then closed with just a wick in here again, reacting out of this area before we've then had a very strong momentum push here. So this is going to be an area of interest as well that I would expect price to draw towards potentially. So essentially, I'm looking at this as a whole area here. For an area to potentially trade from. So we've got a few areas above, a few areas below, but what I'm going to do is take it a little bit more granular and look at what's happening internally as well. So we can see that essentially price has taken out this high here. See that price did push higher, closed with a nice body close above, and then what happened here, we pushed up higher and then pushed down rapidly, leaving this imbalance here from the low of this candle to the high of this candle. We've had a slight reaction here before the sell, and we've traded lower. We've not yet made it back to this particular area. So again, this point here is of interest, but this is just sort of internally. So I'd be looking for how price reacts in this area. So it is a point of interest, but I would highlight this as internal. And again, from this internal kind of area, what can we see? We can see the price pushed down, stalled, pushed down, pushed back up, tapping into the imbalance that had been created here before a big push down. We've traded lower into this imbalance before pushing up. We've then traded lower, we've wicked around, but then again we've pushed up with momentum here. So to me, this sell-off here before prices pushed up, leaving this imbalance, is an area of interest that is internal as well. So essentially this is how I would mark up my charts. Now, how would I utilize this? Well, we can see here that we're expecting that price is going to continue high. We have had the change in character. We're expecting some form of a pullback before we're then looking to continue on the trend, or whether price is going to reverse. So in terms of a forecasted move, I would be looking to see whether price in this particular area gives some sort of a reversal signal. You look at trading it down to this area, seeing if we get some strength from here to then continue the push higher. Or whether we just blast on through and come into this area, at which point we're then going to see how price reacts out of here. But essentially that's what I'm looking for. On areas where I'm looking to trade from, I would be looking to trade out of this area if we got a potential reversal signal on the lower time frame, to trade down just down to this level here, see how we react out of here, whether it gives us a reversal signal reversal signal on the lower time frame to get involved and ride it up to here, or whether price continue to push and we would ride it down to this area here, and again be waiting out of here or here for a reversal signal to be getting long from. And then once you get the reversal, looking to get long to trade up into this area here. So that's how I was viewing price on the 4 hour. So now what can we see on the 15-minute? So I have just put price into replay mode here, and we're at 6:45. So I approached the charts around this time this morning. This is 6:45 Hungarian time, so it's 5:45 UK time. So again, we're just sort of coming out of Asian session, approaching into London session, and again it's just seeing what's happened in terms of price. What can we see? We can see again on this time frame that this has a very strong push out of it. You can see we had an attempted push down to try and break the lows here before we then got this momentum out. So straight away my eyes are drawn to this as a potential area for price to be drawn to. This is the 15-minute. Let's look off to this area here. What can we see? Price pushed down in this area before we had the big push higher. We then stalled a little bit before we got a push down with momentum. Zoom in on this area here. So we can see we pushed high with momentum, we stalled, we pushed higher, creating these wicks here. We attempted to push down, we attempted to push back up, failed to do so, and then pushed down with momentum. So this is a nice little area. So price pushed and wicked down, we then stalled in this area again before another sell-off. So essentially I'd be covering that whole area, and again price is essentially filling this imbalance here almost. We've again tried to push up and we've had a big sell-off, so we've got another little area that we're interested to see how price reacts. So we can see during yesterday afternoon, price came into here. It did get a strong reaction out of it, but it's failed to take out any lows. Price has then come back up again with momentum and traded through it. Through the night, we've traded through it, so that no longer needs to be on the chart. What's happened here? We've tapped into it, we've reacted, we've tried to break the lows, but we've not been able to sustain that. We've broken with wicks here. In fact, we'll come on to that in a moment, but we're ranging around this area and we've not yet reached this level here. So let's have a look at this in terms of what we're seeing from a structural standpoint. So you can see price is pushed up here. We've then pulled and traded lower. We've traded lower in this candle before then pushing up and breaking a high. So this has created an apex here. So this would be the M15 low, and you can see when we broke that, we broke it with a wick. broke it with a wick, which indicates that there's not much strength behind it. Price is pushed up to this high here. So we've traded higher, higher, higher. And again, we've then started to pull back. We've traded lower, created an apex here, and we've pushed up with momentum. Again, failing to break it with a body close. We've only broken it here again with a wick. So to indicate that we've broken it with a wick, and this essentially would move up, as this is the lowest point from the high that was created. We've broken it with a wick. We then pulled back again, created an apex, and we've broken again with another wick, and then we've traded higher with a body, but essentially the break was with the wick. And this is where it may get a little bit messy here. You can see we're quite range bound at this point. So we've broken with a wick, we've pushed and traded higher, and then price has tried to then push down and trade lower to try and give us that change in character, the change to the push down. But for me to validate a change in character, or the way that we would view it within FTR, is that we would expect for a change in character to indicate that with momentum, with a body close. So because we've only broken it with a wick, essentially we would just expand the range here. But I'm going to indicate where the move started from. So it's from here. So it's an attempted change of character, but it was with a wick. And we now have this range that we're dealing with between this low and this candle's high. You can see that price ranged around within here. Again, attempted to push lower, but couldn't sustain that, couldn't close below, indicating again no further momentum. So this essentially moves on to here. So we've had a second failed attempt at the lows. Price does then continue on and breaks upwards to a body. So again, that has continued the upwards trend. We're not classifying this as a change in character, but with a break in structure to the upside, we're happy to count the wicks to continue on the trend. So we've had, again, a break with a wick, and this is where we were. So we had the break with the wick, so our new high is here, but again, we've not closed strongly. It's given a strong rejection signal here almost, but we haven't pushed through with any kind of body or momentum. Price has then slowly staggered up. We've then come up to here, 632, so it's equal highs. We then push through again with a wick here, and again push a little higher here. So our highs moved up. Now for me, in the way that I would treat these breaks, it would be a body close if we'd have closed higher than the high of this, even though, so this is closed exactly on the same level as this. So for me, it's considered as a break with a wick because the body has not been able to close above this level. So what are we seeing here? We're in a bit of a range at the moment because price is struggling to push higher at this point, and we're in an area of interest on a higher time frame as well as a lower time frame area as well. So we're just waiting to see how price develops. But essentially what we're looking for here is to see some sort of a break with momentum so that we can look to get involved out of here to trade it lower, to see if we can get into a position to get down to here. So let's stay zoomed in on the price here because we still haven't finished yet. So we've broken up with the wick, and again this is the the lowest point still here from this previous chuck. We haven't had an apex created. You could argue that this was an apex that's created, but as that's higher than this area here, this is just going to stay down here. But we can see that price is just ranged around. We've got wicks on both sides, so it's not really giving us any indication of momentum or direction at this moment. We've had a bit of a push here, and again, we've pushed low. We're still up at the moment, so we've broken this low with a wick. So again, same process is going to follow. Had an attempted change with a wick, and now we're up to where I looked at the chart this morning. But again, we're not seeing anything of momentum at this moment in time, so we're just waiting for momentum to kick in. We're now coming into essentially Frankfurt. This is 7 AM UK time. And you can see we push up here, close with a wick. We've taken out this momentum here. We've taken out these highs. What happens next? We push down with some momentum. Does that get sustained? Does that get sustained? It doesn't, but it is indicating here that there is still momentum here because we've not been able to retrace. We've got momentum. Now that's good. Now we have a change in character with a body close. So this is, for me, all the information I need to be able to set an order on here. So we've had a push up that's taken liquidity resting within this areas here, within these local highs here. We've failed to push up multiple times. We've been breaking with wicks out of this higher time frame area of interest that we were looking at previously. This has taken liquidity. We've pushed down with momentum, creating imbalance here. So this for me is golden to take an entry on. Alright. So for my entries on this time frame, I'd be looking at the 0.25. So essentially, what does that mean? So this is just the Fibonacci retracement tool, which I've adjusted. Just come into the settings of that. So I've adjusted it just to show the halfway point and then the quarter and the 3/4. So just to make it nice and easy, it doesn't matter which way round I move this tool. It just means that I'm taking it off of here or of here, depending on which direction we're trading it from, but it just makes it nice and simple. But I know if my entries are short, I'm taking it off of the 0.25. So my entry came on here. So the entry 1.08589, I always put it one tick below. So 1.08588 was my entry, and my stop, you could have put the stop to just to the top of this high here. That's absolutely fine, but I essentially for this trade just gave it a little bit of extra room just to cover this high here. Now in terms of target, where would I be targeting to? So essentially for this trade we need a minimum of 1 to 4, but as I mentioned, we're looking, if I just jump out to the higher time frame, I'm not going to jump out to the higher time frame now because it's going to show what happens, but essentially from what we viewed earlier, this was the internal area where we're expecting that price could be drawn to before looking to give us this push higher. So we've given us the indication here with this change of character with the body close that this could be the start of a pullback for us to reach these prices, for us to potentially look at getting long out of. So essentially this would be my target as a minimum. Do we have a 1 to 4? Yeah, absolutely, 4.2% there showing. So it is absolutely fine. Now, I understand that this is a higher risk of trade because we are counter trend. We're trading the 4-hour direction, which is up. So this is just a pullback. So it's going to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of management if we do get involved into the trade. But essentially what we have now is the changing character. It's good enough for me, as explained, for entry points. So let's just mark this up. So this is now our low. And it's a change of character with a body close. So it indicates that there's strength. Now, I'm not moving my high at this point, and the reason being is because the change in character initially started here with the wick. So it means that prices come to this low here, prices traded higher, and then we've come down and we've confirmed the change here. So although you could say that the change in character back to the upside would be if we broke this high, I'm counting all of this range here because this is where we first attempted to try and change the character, but it wasn't successful until this point. So I incorporate the whole range round. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we're tagged in on this next candle, and yeah, doesn't look great. Might look worrying here. We've engulfed this candle here, but it's fine. It is what it is. We've got everything we need for trade entry essentially on this one, so it's absolutely fine. We'll see what happens next. But what has happened essentially is that price has pushed down and we've closed from here. Price has then come up and traded higher than this candle's high. So if price now was to come down and break this low, we have an apex formed, and this would be a break in structure. So essentially for me, with a counter trend trade, as soon as we break the structure, I'll be putting my stops to break even with a little bit of profit locked in essentially. So 7 ticks profit just to cover the spread and commissions on executing on the trade. What do we get? We trade a little bit higher here. Okay, we're looking good. Not so good. Not great either. But what's happened here? So we've had the break in structure, but it's with a wick, and it's obviously rejected quite strongly here. So let's just borrow one of these. So it's a break with a wick. And essentially, as mentioned, in terms of management, we've broken with a wick. We've now locked in 7 ticks. So this only shows us 4 ticks here, but this was because actually this came up pretty strongly, and as it approached the entry, this actually took me in at 591. So it took me in a little bit higher on the price. So my stops were locked in here at 584, so it's 7 ticks. And that's it. There's nothing for me to do now at this point. So the trade is now, we've broken the structure. We're now at break even. So we're now either going to get taken out for a loss, not a loss, sorry, break even, 0 loss, or we're going to get taken out for the win, which would be 4.2%. The reason why I'm more aggressive on a counter trend trade is because we are going against the higher time frame. Yes, we do have signals here for our entry to ride this down, and we would expect that price would come down to this area, but it doesn't have to. And because we're trading against the higher time frame, I fully expect that this could just take some sort of liquidity from the Asian session range. We have been ranging here, so there's money on both sides. So I fully understand that price could just come out and take me out. It could then take out these highs here, tap higher into this before then coming down. So with a counter trend trade, I'm going to be more aggressive on management to get this to break even, and then it's either 0 loss or a win. Absolutely fine. And again, this took me out here at this area here. So on the trade itself, the way that it pushed up here to take me out actually did take me out for, I think it was about 48 pence worth of a loss technically, but practically break even essentially on that. But absolutely fine, we're out of that trade now. But what are we expecting to see next? Well, as I mentioned before, this is an area, what's happened here. Prices pushed down, pushed up with momentum here. So where we've stalled in this area, you can see prices reacted from something out of here. So prices reacted out of this area, so wouldn't necessarily have to, this is not something that I'd personally trade from ProTrend, but prices reacted strongly out of this area, so price could now smash through essentially, which had we have not moved to break even would have taken us out for a full loss. Price could, now that it's taken me out, it could go on and drop further and carry on. Absolutely fine. I have no issues at all if it was to do that. Not a problem. I know this is counter trend and I'm happy with my management. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we're back up to current price, and we can see this is exactly why I'm more aggressive with the management, because had I not have moved this to break even, I would have been taken out for a full 1% loss. So absolutely fine. We move on, and yeah, back up to current price. So we'll see what happens next. What do we think is going to happen next? Let's have a look. So we're still within that. We've reacted with momentum. So we've taken out these lows and pushed higher. Okay, so what do we have? We have the 4 hour as being up. And this is essentially, it's now closed with a body. Let's just get some of this out of the way. We've closed with a body. That's all balanced along here. So I could see price doing something like this, and we would expect price to push up to here. We do have the momentum. Behind us currently, so I would want to see some sort of a pullback and a push with momentum. I may look to see if we get something like this and breaking this high here, whether there's something in this area that we can trade out of to ride up to here. If we can get the valuable risk to reward in there, so it'd need to be a minimum of 1 to 4. So if it's something around this level, there's still enough room, so we'll see what happens. But again, we could stall and react out of here, give us another change of character to the downside, and look to get short. Again, riding this down to and ride this down to this area, but we'll see what we got. We've got a bit of momentum behind us now, so we'll see what happens next. But yeah, that covers this trade. So I hope you've taken something away from this. I know there's a lot of things that you may not necessarily be able to follow. I haven't explained via this channel, but all of the information on how we trade is through FTR, which is the community I'm with just now. So if you did want to get involved with that, by all means, click the link in my description. And yeah, that's it for this trade recap.